Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Dr. Anil Kumar, working as Assistant Professor in Center for Medical Biotechnology, MD University Rohtak. Student, today we are going to learn about module Cell and Tissue Engineering under the paper Animal Cell Biotechnology. So what are the learning objectives of our this module Cell and Tissue Engineering? After the completion of this module, you will be able to learn the basic concept of cell and tissue engineering, the material required for tissue engineering and their selection criteria, the application of tissue engineering in generation of various organ like heart, bones, liver, etc. And whatever the we will also discuss about the future prospect and the ethical concern that is that we have to deal with this technique. So tissue engineering is a interdisciplinary field. Why we are calling it an interdisciplinary field? Because it make use of biological sciences, material sciences and the engineering field. It is a combination of in vitro and in vivo technology, because we are taking cell out of the donor and then growing it in vitro. What is the principle of this technique? It includes the combination of living cell with the natural and synthetic support. So we are providing that support or scaffold, so that scaffold can provide the actual environment or identical environment to the growing cells. So why tissue engineering, why this technique is so important? Because the artificial transplantation or transplanted organ is a successful therapy for incurable end disease and for the tissue loss. But this technique of transplantation is challenged by the organ shortage and necessity of lifelong immunosuppression. Now, immunosuppression is the most important thing when we are dealing with the transplantation. And what is the shortcoming? Other shortcoming of this transplantation is the its potential for serious complication in some cases like neurological disorders. We are going to discuss about the history of cell and tissue engineering. In 1897, Loeb et al. First reported the idea of growing cell outside the human body. In 1933, the tissue engineering was first introduced in a mouse tumor cell encased in a biocompatible polymer membrane, which were then implanted into the abdominal cavity of chick embryos. In 1912, Carroll was able to grow pieces of chick embryo in various media, which he initially maintained for 85 days, then subsequently for the years. In 1975, Chick et al. Demonstrated the culture of pancreatic beta cells from neonatal rats on synthetic capillaries released insulin in response to change in glucose concentration. In 1980, Brook et al. Successfully created artificial skin with fibroblast seeded onto collagen scaffold. So what kind of approaches we can apply to this technique, tissue engineering? The approaches to tissue engineering can be characterized or stratified into the three categories: substitutive, histoconductive and the histoinductive. Substitutive approaches means we are doing the whole organ replacement. In histoconductive approaches, we involve the replacement of missing or damaged part of an organ with the ex vivo construct. In histoinductive approaches, which facilitate the self repair and may involve gene therapy using the DNA delivery by plasmid or other vectors. Now, what are the requirements of tissue engineering? The development of construct for tissue engineering require careful selection of four materials. First is the cell. Now, cells are the important component which we want to grow. That can be a autologous cell, that can be a genealogic, that can be a other types. Now we can grow the different type of cell like embryonic stem cell, mesenchymal stem cell, fibroblast we can grow. Other important component is the scaffold. Scaffold basically act as a framework for the growing cell and also help in the buildup of inner cell mass. Other important component like growth factor is also needed. Growth factor these are the peptides, so they are needed for the growth of cells. They can be a vitamin or hormones. Extracellular matrix, it is helping the nutrition. It provides the nutrition to the growing cells. What are the basically primary requirement for cell and tissue engineering. So coming to the first requirement, that is cells. The appropriate cell supply is required for the viable construct of a tissue. The feature of cell should include: it should be a non-immunogenic, it should have highly proliferative nature, easy to harvest, and have the ability to differentiate the various of the cell type with a specialized function. Now we are talking about the cells. So we have certain cell sources from which we can get cells for the cell and tissue engineering purpose. What are the cell sources? First is the autologous. Autologous means we are taking cells from donor and then grafting them back to the donor. What is the advantage of these analogous cells? It represents an excellent source because of the low association with the immune complication. That is the most concerned problem. Second type of cell source is the allogenic, within a species from a human donor but not to the immunological identicals. What is the advantage of allogenic? It provides more uniformity, standardization of procedure, quality control, and cost effectiveness over the autologous cells. What are the genogenic cell sources? In this case, we are receiving cells from a different species such as animal, then grafting them into the human recipient or patient. Other source is the syngenic and isogenic. In this case, we are using a genetically identical donor such as a homologous twin. So what is the criteria when we are making a cell selection from different cell sources? The cell selection for the tissue engineering must fulfill the certain criteria like quantity. An adequate number of cells must be produced to fill any defect or missed part. Second criteria is differentiation. Cell must be able to differentiate themselves into the desired phenotype or cell types. The third one is the adaptation. The adaptation means a cell must adopt appropriate three-dimensional structure, also known as the scaffold. Basically, it is scaffold which is going to support the growth of cell. So cell should adopt that three-dimensional structure, scaffold, and also produce the ECM, that is the extracellular matrix. The another criteria is the structure. Now produced cell must be structurally and mechanically similar to the damaged or missed part. Another criteria is the integration. The cell must be successfully able to integrate itself into the native cell so it can overcome the implication of immunological rejections. Next criteria is a minimal risk. There should be a minimal risk associated with the biological risk. Now stem cell and tissue engineering. So what are the role of this stem cell in tissue engineering? The stem cell can be divided into three categories: adult stem cell or somatic stem cell, embryonic stem cell, and the totipotent stem cell or zygote. First, coming to the adult stem cell or somatic stem cell, what they are? Adult stem cell are resident stem cell found in a specific niches or tissue compartments such as bone marrow, blood, cornea, retina of the eye, dental pulp, liver, skin, GI tract, and the pancreas. Their specialty is that they are undifferentiated cell that can be programmed to the differentiate to the specific tissue type. Now, what are the embryonic stem cells? They are derived from the inner cell mass of the pre-implantation blastocyst. They are also undifferentiated immature cells that are capable of unlimited self-renewal with the ability to differentiate. They demonstrate stable developmental potential to form derivatives of all the three embryonic germ layer, that is the ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Totipotent stem cell or zygotes, they have potential to develop into the any cell found in the human body. So they have ability to replicate in unlimited number without losing their total potential. Now how we can use this stem cell into tissue engineering? Among these three cell types, adult stem cell and embryonic stem cell are being investigated for their potential to differentiate into the appropriate cells for repair of damaged bone, cartilage, and tendon. The development of human embryonic stem cells line and their ability to differentiate to cardiomyocyte hold a greater promise. So some authors have done work regarding this. Kehat et al. In 2001 first described the generation of reproducible, spontaneous cardiomyocyte differentiating system from the human embryonic stem cell. Several types of stem cells such as human adult hematopoietic stem cell and a mesenchymal stem cell have been demonstrated to differentiate into the hepatocyte under the appropriate environment. In a similar of the study, Ame et al. In 2004 recently demonstrated the first central nervous system stem cell derived functional synapse and neuronal network formation on a three-dimensional collagen gel. The mesenchymal stem cells are ideal for replacing dead neural cell due to their strong proliferative capacity, easy acquisition, and the considerable tolerance of the genetic modification. The diabetes patient also being treated with the stem cells. Diabetes may be potentially treated by generating insulin producing cell from a stem cell and grafting them back into the pancreas in a diabetic patient. The second requirement for the cell and tissue engineering is the scaffold. So what is a scaffold? How it works? Scaffold, it provides framework of three-dimensional matrix that guide the organization, growth and differentiation of the cells, facilitating the formation of an extracellular matrix that known as the ECM. What is the characteristic of scaffold? Scaffold must be a biocompatible and biodegradable. It is designed to meet both nutritional and biological need of a specific cell population. Features of scaffold for its selection criteria include porosity. The interconnecting pores of adequate size for cell penetration and tissue impregation is needed. When we are considering scaffold, the rate of degradation and the rate of tissue formation must be occur simultaneously. Transport and transmit of biomolecular signal occur very efficiently. It also promotes the ECM production and its deposition. Now we are going to discuss about the scaffold types. In a cell-based tissue engineering, various types of scaffold are used on which seeding of the cell is done. Different types include a cellular tissue material which has been derived from human or animals. It can be a natural biomaterials which has been extracted from animal sources such as the fibrin, collagen, gelatin, chitosan, alginate and hyaluronic acid. They can be a synthetic polymer like polycaprolactone, polylactic acid, polyglycolic acid, polyvinyl alcohol, polyethylene glycol and etc. And they can be also hybrid material. The natural biomaterial provide biocompatibility, then and later while synthetic biomaterial acquires the tunable mechanical properties. So you can see the different type of scaffold type: acellular, natural, synthetic and hybrid in this image. The next requirement is the growth factor. The growth factor are the soluble peptides which are capable of binding cellular receptor and producing either a permissive or preventive cellular response towards differentiation and or proliferation of the tissue. For example, we are having hormones, platelet derived growth factor, insulin like growth factor, transforming growth factor, fibroblast growth factor and the bone morphogenic proteins. The last component, the last requirement for cell and tissue engineering is a ECM, that is the extracellular matrix. What is the function of this ECM? It provides optimal condition for cell adhesion, growth and differentiation within a construct. It creates a system capable of controlling environmental factors such as pH, temperature, oxygen, tension and the mechanical forces. So what is the methodology for cell and tissue engineering? First of all, you have to get a tissue sample from a body by using a biopsy. Then you have to grow the cell in vitro into the new tissue. The growing a cell into new tissue requires scaffold and growth factor. Then you have to implant that newly grown tissue into the donor. Now what are the application of tissue engineering? The tissue engineering can be applied into cardiac tissue engineering, neural tissue engineering, bone tissue engineering and the liver tissue engineering. So first coming to the cardiac tissue engineering. In United States, congestive heart failure occur due to the myocardial infarction that result to the death of organism there. Now, tissue engineering could be a promising approach for cardiac repair. Some of the scaffold has been used in this regard. The natural acellular scaffold made up of hydrogel alone can provide mechanical support to the infected heart by attenuating wall stress, compensating for contraction function, and preventing ventricular remodeling. The hydrogel can also be used in vitro for cell expansion and the induction of cardiogenic differentiation. One of the factor that is a basic fibroblast growth factor encapsulated in heparin alginate microsphere also demonstrate enhancement in the myocardial function in vivo. Tissue engineering also play a role in dysfunctional heart valves, peripheral vascular disorder, and abdominal aortic. Now, what is the application in neural tissue engineering? The central nervous system is a unique tissue network with ECM structure having soft physical properties are susceptible to damage, illness, and injuries. Now, this kind of tissue engineering and cell different scaffold and growth factor can be used for the neural tissue engineering. The soft hydrogel scaffold made up of acrylamide and PEG with arginine, glycine, aspartic acid are able to regulate the cell behavior such as cell adhesion, cell renewal, differentiation of the neural stem cell. One of the immobilized agarose scaffold from the platelet-derived growth factor have been reported to support differentiation of the neural stem cell and the neural progenitor cells to the oligodendrocyte. The hydrogel in the rat brain surgery model enhanced survival of the neural stem cell, and it also reduced the formation of glial astrocyte and also improved the tissue regeneration after the 6-week post transplantation. Now, coming to the application in the bone tissue engineering. Bone is a connective tissue consisting of collagenous ECM. Now, collagen has a poor structural stability. Thus, scaffold made up of hybrid material are utilized in bone tissue engineering. For example, fibrous scaffold made up of PLGA, collagen, and hydroxyapatite were shown to provide structural stability, mechanical integrity, as well as improve human mesenchymal stem cell binding. Inorganic materials such as calcium phosphate, amorphous calcium phosphate have been used for the bone tissue engineering. Scaffold made up of collagen and ASP that support proliferation, osteogenic differentiation of the mesenchymal stem cells. It also treat non-union fractures, cartilage damage, repair, ligament damage, vertebral disc damage, and the bone graft material. Now coming to the application at liver tissue engineering. Hepatocytes are the major cell type executing most of the function in liver. So within a in vitro culture environment, hepatocytes tend to lose their function, which can be recovered by stem cells as an alternative cell source in combination with a supplementary factor for liver tissue engineering. The rat embryonic stem cells cultured within a 3D culture system showed differentiation into hepatic-like cell with morphological characteristics of typical mature hepatocytes in the presence of supplementary factors such as recombinant mouse hepatic growth factor, fibroblast growth factor, insulin, transferrin, selenium, etc. So, challenges to tissue engineering. What are the challenges we are going to face? First challenge is the designing on appropriate capillary network. Now, why we want to design an appropriate capillary network? Because the capillary network allows the gaseous exchange as an in vivo system. It also provides nutrition and remove the metabolic waste from the implanted construct. Now, second challenge we have to face is the designing of a multi-layered organ system construct. Why we want to design the multi-layered organ system construct? Because there is the number of different cell types are present, and each cell type is specify its different function. Third challenge we have to face, that is a scaffold should be capable of supporting various cell types. Now, scaffold, as you know, there are the number of scaffold are there. We are a hybrid scaffold, acellular, natural, and the biopolymer are there. So when we are choosing a scaffold, it should support the growth of a specific cell types. Next challenge we have to face, that is the appropriate expression sequence, closing and the duration of a growth factor also need to be defined when we are dealing with the embryonic stem cell or pluripotent stem cell. So these are the challenges of a tissue engineering. Now what are the ethical concerns related with the tissue engineering? So there are the ethical religious concerns. First is the use of genogenic cells is considered as a crossing species boundaries. Second, the host of immune response to allogenic embryonic stem cells possess ethical as well as religious concern regarding the embryonic stem cell. It is unethical to use human embryo and aborted fetus. The use of an embryonic stem cell remains contentious for some religious group. Use of human embryo with a large scale of cultivation for profit. The privacy of donors should be maintained in a cell bank when we are dealing with the tissue engineering. The prolonging the life of living through the tissue engineering is believed to be an act of playing with the God. So these are the ethical concerns which are associated with the cell and tissue engineering. Now what are the future prospects? Even though much progress has been made in the field of tissue engineering, there are certain things which are need to be addressed. The first one is the full regeneration of a tissue that do not regenerate spontaneously has not been achieved yet. Second, the stable cell source, scaffold design and in vitro bioreactors, the use of development of microfabrication technology to create vascularized tissue and the organ are still being investigated. And the third one is the continued development of artificial organ with appropriate spot structure still have to be investigated. The focus on disease area that have the most patient and the largest unmet need. The movement from small scale laboratory experiment to large scale production of cells is also required. The need of innovative bioreactor technology and the level of process quality control also needed. So these are the future prospects. Let's summarize our lecture. What we have learned today. We have learned about a technique that is a tissue and cell engineering. Now tissue and cell engineering, as the name indicating, it is an interdisciplinary field which make use of different field like mechanics we are using engineering, and we are using the life sciences. Now tissue engineering field make both use of in vitro and in vivo condition. In vitro condition, we are taking a cell from a donor body, then growing into the culture, then after the growing into culture, we are growing them into the particular at a spotty medium that is known as the scaffold. After growing into scaffold, they will be grown to the many culture condition. Then after that, that will be transferred to the donor itself. Now after that, we have discussed what are the approaches we can apply for the tissue engineering. There are three main approaches. Are substitutive, in which we have discussed it is applied to the whole organ replacement. We have discussed about the histoconductive approach, in which missing or lost part is repaired, and we have discussed about the histoinductive approach, in which we have discussed how it can self repair with the help of gene therapy. Then we have discussed about what can be a criteria for cell selection, what are basically material required for the cell and tissue engineering. There are the four type of materials are required. First we need cells, then we need scaffold, we need intercellular mass, and last one we need growth factor. Cells we can take from the different sources. They can be a allogenic source, they can be a genogenic source, they can be a syngenic or isogenic sources. Now another thing, scaffold basically act as a framework. It is a three-dimensional structure which is present in a different form, like it can be a natural, it can be a biopolymer, it can be a hybrid form. Scaffold, the function of scaffold to provide framework to the growing cells so they can grow in identical manner as we are looking for the missing part. The another factor, that is the growth factor, which are the basically peptide or hormones which is needed for the growth of the growing cells. Now we have, after that we have discussed about what are the application of cell and tissue engineering. They can be applied for the generation of heart, they can be applied for the generation of bones, liver, so which somehow has been become defective. Then we have discussed about the ethical concern and religious concern that are related with the cell and tissue engineering. It is unethical to use cultured embryos, and some people are using these embryos for their profit. Some things, when we are using the embryo culture, like when we are using the embryonic stem cells and the pluripotent stem cells, we are using it for the, like we are playing with the god. So we are concluding our lecture there. Thank you.